I don't remember the first time I realized my mom didn't love my dad. It wasn't a sharp moment, like a glass breaking in the middle of the night. It was more like water dripping from a cracked pipe, slow at first, a sound you almost convince yourself you're imagining. Then, one day, the floor gives way beneath your feet, and you're drowning before you even understand how. Dad was always the hero in my eyes. He worked 3 jobs when I was little, one at the factory, another as a night guard, and sometimes odd jobs fixing people's roofs on weekends. I used to hate how little I saw him, but even as a kid, I understood why. The house we lived in wasn't much, but it was warm in the winters and cool in the summers. There was always food on the table, even if it wasn't fancy. And there were nights he came home so tired he couldn't even change out of his uniform before he fell asleep on the couch. I'd sneak up and pull his boots off for him, because Mom wouldn't. She used to be different too, or maybe I was just too young to see her properly. When I was 6, I thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world. She smelled like vanilla lotion and always wore her hair in a loose bun that would sway when she leaned over the sink washing dishes. But somewhere along the way, her laugh got sharper. Her eyes started following Dad like he was a stranger invading her house instead of the man breaking his back to keep us afloat. The first time I saw him, I didn't know who he was. It was raining hard that night, and I'd woken up to pee. The hallway light was on, something that never happened, and as I passed the kitchen, I saw my mom pressed up against a man, her hands gripping his shoulders. He was taller than Dad, with broad shoulders and tattoos that snaked down his arms. She was whispering something I couldn't hear, and he was grinning like he owned the whole world. I stood there frozen. I wanted to think she was just hugging a friend, but who hugs someone like that at midnight in the kitchen? Later, I learned his name. Marcus. Dad's best friend from high school. The same guy Dad once told me he'd gotten into fights with to keep out of trouble. The same Marcus Dad had taken in a few months back, saying he needed a place to lay low. He was a fugitive. I was 12 when this started. Old enough to understand the whispers and glances, but still young enough to believe if I kept quiet, it would all go away. It didn't. I don't know how long I stood there that first night, my feet bare against the cold tiles, my little fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. I was 12, but I felt even younger, like I'd been shoved back into the body of the boy who used to cry when Dad left for the night shift. I didn't understand why Mom's hands were on Marcus's chest, or why her lips brushed his neck like she was afraid someone might hear her kiss him. I tiptoed back to my room, heart pounding so loud I thought it would give me away. I didn't sleep that night. I lay staring at the cracked ceiling, counting how many drips of water fell from the gutter outside. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. Maybe Mom was comforting him. Maybe he was sad or scared because he was hiding from the cops and Mom was just being kind. But deep down, I knew better. The next morning, Dad made pancakes. His hands were rough and calloused, covered in faint cuts from roofing nails and the sharp edges of metal. He smiled at me across the table, eyes crinkling the way they always did, and said, "Eat up, champ." Big day at school. Mom didn't even look at him. She was still in her robe, hair down, scrolling through her phone like we didn't exist. That's when I started watching her. At first, it was little things. The way she laughed at Marcus's dumb jokes but rolled her eyes at Dad's. How she wore lipstick in the house now, something she never used to bother with unless they were going out. How Marcus would grab her wrist playfully in the hallway and she wouldn't pull away. Dad never saw it. Or maybe he did and chose not to. He was too busy. He was always too busy, working double shifts, fixing up the car so Mom wouldn't have to take the bus, selling his old guitar to pay for my basketball camp because a man sacrifices for his family. I hated how much I loved him. It made it worse somehow, because every nice thing he did became another weight pressing down on my chest. One night I heard them talking in the kitchen again, Mom and Marcus. I crept down the stairs, careful to avoid the squeaky third step. "Don't want to keep living like this," Mom hissed. "He's never going to stop working. He'll die on that factory floor." "Let him," Marcus said, his voice low and dangerous. "We're leaving soon anyway." My stomach dropped. Not yet, she whispered. The money. We need the money first. His account still has over 80 grand from the life insurance payout. Then drain it, Marcus growled. We're running out of time. I'm not rotting here while he plays the good husband. Drain it. They were going to take everything. They were going to leave Dad with nothing. And I was going to let them unless I did something. I didn't sleep that night either. I stared at the ceiling and imagined Dad's face when he found the bank account empty, the house abandoned, and his best friend gone with his wife. I imagined him sitting on the edge of our couch, head in his hands, whispering, "Why?" over and over like he did when Grandpa died.
I couldn't let that happen. The next morning, I started gathering evidence. I didn't know how to start. I wasn't some genius kid from a movie who could hack into phones or set up secret cameras. I was just a 12-year-old with trembling hands and a stomach that wouldn't stop twisting. But I was observant, and I had time. I started small. When Mom and Marcus went out to get groceries, I checked her purse. There was a second phone in there, tucked under her makeup bag. I almost dropped it when it buzzed in my hand. Marcus, soon. I'm tired of waiting. You're not scared, are you? I'm not. I want you more than I ever wanted him. I wanted to throw up. That night, Dad came home smelling of sweat and motor oil, his uniform darkened in places where the grease had soaked through. He gave me a tired smile and asked how school was. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to tell him everything, but I couldn't. The words lodged in my throat like barbed wire. So I smiled back and said it was fine. He ruffled my hair and said, "That's my boy." I felt like a traitor. The next day, I stole Mom's second phone while she was in the shower. I locked my bedroom door and scrolled through the messages, taking pictures of every disgusting word with my own phone. I found their plans spelled out in pieces, a fake account to transfer Dad's money, tickets to Mexico under false names, Marcus bragging about connections that would get them new identities. I had evidence now, but what was I supposed to do with it? I thought about telling Dad, but what if he didn't believe me? What if Marcus hurt him? He wasn't like Dad. Marcus had a sharpness about him, the kind of man who smiled with his teeth but never his eyes. So I kept quiet. But I kept watching. Days turned into weeks. I noticed Marcus slipping out at night. He didn't think anyone was awake, but I was. I tracked the mud on his boots, the cigarette butts left smoldering on the porch. I heard Mom crying in the bathroom one night, not the soft, broken sobs of guilt, but the angry, frustrated kind. "You promised it'd be fast," she whispered. "I can't stand him anymore." "Relax," Marcus muttered. "2 more weeks. We'll drain the account, and we're gone." 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to save Dad. I started researching on the library computers at school. How to report a fugitive. How to prove financial fraud. My fingers trembled as I typed, afraid someone would see the search history and think I was crazy. When I got home, I hid my notes under my mattress. That night, Dad came to my room. "Hey, champ. You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" I nodded. He sat on the edge of my bed and sighed. He looked so tired. Lines etched into his face that hadn't been there last year. His hands were shaking slightly, probably from exhaustion. "You know I'm working hard for you and your mom, right? I want you to have a better life than I did." I nodded again, afraid I'd burst into tears if I spoke. He smiled weakly and stood. "Get some sleep. Big day tomorrow." I watched him leave and hated myself for not saying anything. The first break came when Marcus got careless. He left his jacket on the couch one night, and in the pocket was a folded map with circled locations and scribbled notes. Border checkpoint week here. Meet contact in Laredo. Fake IDs ready. I snapped a photo and tucked the map back. My hands were sweating so bad I nearly smudged the screen. The second break came from Mom's laptop. Her password was our old dog's name, Rusty. She'd forgotten to log out of her email, and there it was, an exchange with Marcus about wire transfers and how to make it look like an accident if Dad started asking questions. An accident. They weren't just going to leave. They were planning to destroy him completely. I felt something break inside me. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. I reported Marcus's location anonymously. I wrote an email to the tip line with all the evidence I had, his fake name, his habits, the map, the emails. I included Mom too. I told them about the fake accounts, the plan to cross the border, everything. Felt like lighting myself on fire. The next day, I watched them pack bags in secret while Dad was at work. Mom kissed Marcus in the hallway, whispering about freedom and new lives. They didn't know what was coming. The night they were supposed to leave, the cops came. I watched from my window as red and blue lights painted the street. I watched Marcus shoved face first into the dirt, hands cuffed behind his back. I saw Mom screaming, fighting the officers like a cornered animal. Dad came home in the middle of it, his face twisted in confusion and horror. "Sarah?" he whispered. "Marcus? What the hell is going on?" Nobody answered him. I never told Dad it was me. He thinks the reward money, $100,000, was pure luck. He thinks the tip came from a neighbor. He used the money to pay off the house, to finally rest for the first time in years. But every time he smiles at me, I feel sick, because I'm not a hero. I'm just the kid who destroyed his mother to save his father. And I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself for it.